What's up, everybody? Full Sooners on SI team. Here we got John Hoover. I'm Ryan Chapman. Carson Field on Owen Field after a massive victory for Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners. 24-13, Oklahoma takes down Michigan. And guys, in a weird way, we've not said this a lot in the Venables era, but maybe this is a corner turned. It wasn't even that close. Dominant performance by the Oklahoma defense. But John, I think part of the story tonight is all these questions. Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, are they going to be able to make that step up from Washington State to the SEC against an SEC-style physical defense? Looks like Oklahoma's got themselves a quarterback, and they've got themselves an OC.
Yes, they have a quarterback. They have an OC. Do they have an offensive line? Yeah, sort of. Do they have a stable of running backs? Maybe. We're going to see, I think, running back-wise. That's what everybody wants to know right now. Can Oklahoma run the football coming into the night? Well, they did a little bit here and there. There's a couple of problems with what they did successfully do. I think 138 yards rushing for the Sooners tonight. 3.4 yards per carry. Not great, but in crunch time with the game on the line, 54 yards rushing in the fourth quarter. That's not bad. That's on pace for 200 something. And then 4.5 yards per carry in the fourth quarter. Now, here's the problem. 19 carries, 74 yards by your quarterback. He said, John Mateer himself said, that's probably not going to be the game plan every time. I don't know what Ben Arbuckle said about it. I missed that interview, but Brent Venables said, yeah, it's just one of those games. We did everything possible to win. Now, Bill Bedenbaugh got a game ball tonight. Why? Because he put together an entirely new offensive line in week 2. How much fun is that? 4 new guys in there to start. Left tackle, left guard, center, and right tackle, all new from last week, all new starters. 2 of them were hurt last week. That's 2 transfers, 1 true freshman. Michael Fasusi is a future star. My goodness. The receivers were balanced, although Deion Burks, Michigan boy, right? Michigan man, shall we call him? Didn't get recruited by Michigan. He goes out against Michigan and gets 100 yards receiving. So balanced, but they found another star. Last week it was Keontez Lewis. Tonight, Deion Burks. New offensive line. Running back is going to have to be by committee. I think that's what we're going to see a lot of this year. You might see Blaylock get free for a couple of carries here and there. A couple of other guys might pop one here or there, but just generally speaking, the running back stable is going to be by committee all season long.
Here's the good news, too. Last year, we talked so often, boys, about new offensive line this, new offensive line that. That was because they were losing guys to injury. Yeah. This is what the starting offensive line, outside of maybe Mikla, would have been last week if everyone was healthy, everyone was good to go. This is getting guys back, and when you've got young pieces, Heath Ozide is still a really young guy. Michael Fasusi, obviously a true freshman. Derek Simmons, a guy coming in from Western Carolina, still getting acclimated to this level. It feels like, John, this is much different because it feels like a group that can go up throughout the season. And the big thing is, hey, John Mateer talked about it. You're not going to be able to do that every single week. He talked about it in the offseason, boys. You're not going to be able to take all the hits, all that stuff. But he said there are nights, there are moments you have to. This is one of those nights. And I thought the best part.
For recovery, he said his advice came from
DeMarco Murray.
DeMarco Murray. How cool is that?
He's going to have the running backs coach work with him. I thought the most important thing, though, and this is kind of what I asked Mateer after the game. Ben Arbuckle, coming from that West Texas tree, air raid tree, here's how the game closed. Essentially, 16 plays, 78 yards. Oklahoma took 8:27 off the clock to kick what was essentially the game-winning field goal. That's the kind of stuff the defensive coordinator, Brent Venables, gets all giddy about. And Why does he get giddy about that, Carson? Because his defense came out, and outside of some special teams miscues, what we'll get to, they put on a show against this Wolverines offense.
Yeah, I mean, besides the first play of the second half, that 75-yard Justice Haynes run, they were spectacular tonight, and it was guys that not necessarily ones we would have expected before the year. Guys like Owen Heineke, the leading tackler tonight for the Sooners, he was outstanding. Obviously, your guys like Kip Lewis, Peyton Bowen had big games as well. But, I mean, you look at what they did against this Michigan offense, everyone's been raving about, and rightfully so, Bryce Underwood being this dual threat quarterback of the future. I think Reese Davis compared him to John Elway. So he's getting all this buzz, and Oklahoma kind of made him look silly tonight. 9 for 23 passing, less than 150 passing yards. Obviously, he's a true freshman. This is his first tough game of college. So, I mean, some of that's to be expected. But, I mean, they just didn't give him any time. The Oklahoma defense didn't. No takeaways, but you look at the tackles for loss, 8 of them. That is very impressive. 8 tackles for loss against a good offensive line like Michigan's. All in all, you can't complain much about this defensive effort.
Yeah, no, I like everything you said. The defensive line was just absolutely. Listen, this is Michigan. This is the Wolverines coming in here. Okay, their head coach is a former offensive lineman who played here, by the way. But just that's the Big Ten football, right? That's their trademark. Big, huge guys. You saw the defensive linemen, the defensive tackles, enormous. Like, how are those guys blocking those? Well, they didn't on everyone. But the offensive line, same thing. Big dudes out here. And Oklahoma's defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. If not for that 175-yard run, and if not for the roughing the punter down there, and the crazy, not the kickoff, but the punt, the fumbled punt by Satania.
We'll get to the special teams
Yeah,
here in a second.
if not for that litany of like, what the hell, where did that come from type mistakes that they made, this could have been a blowout.
It probably should have been a blowout, and that's part of the stuff that Britt Middle's talked about. That you come out here, you win a big game. When it's not perfect, I think that's actually a good sign in many ways. It means Oklahoma didn't come out here and peak in week 2. And yeah, you look at it, Michigan actually won the third quarter 13-7. That 75-yard run, as we kind of talked about, Britt Middle said bad call. Also, a lot of bad angles by the safeties. They got outran when they should have had the angle. That was one play, though. You look at it, Isaiah Satania fields a punt that he never should have fielded, and it just kind of felt like that was almost Thunder fans know this feeling when Russell Westbrook is feeling it and he takes 2 steps across the 3-point or the mid-court line because he's like, hey, this is the knockout. Well, it felt like Satania was trying to deliver a knockout punch, ends up muffing it. That ends up being a field goal drive. Jaden Knott screws up the ensuing kickoff, gives Oklahoma terrible field position. Outside of that back and forth where Michigan that was the first time all night they were really winning the field position battle because Grayson Miller out of nowhere comes in, the UCO transfer, with a couple of big-time punts to flip field position to make sure that Oklahoma was staying ahead of the chains even when they weren't putting points on the board. Outside of those exchanges in the third quarter, John, this could have been a close game, tight game. Oklahoma pulls way away in the third and fourth quarter if it weren't for those miscues.
Yeah, you could have seen the Oklahoma defense with maybe 3 points given up for the game, if that, if not a shutout. Just, stacking, don't make this mistake, don't make that mistake. They compounded, those mistakes did. I think they had 12 first downs. 3 of them were by OU penalties, and 4 of the first downs that they had of the 12 came after that roughing the punter. If you get out of that one, that's 4 first downs that the other team doesn't get.
Pretty impressive stuff, and I thought maybe the biggest difference you saw tonight from a year ago so many times is even when Oklahoma's not putting points on the board as an offense, they find a way to get a first down and then punt. And that's huge twofold. One, it makes sure you're not punting out of your own end zone, but also it means that defense is putting in a stellar performance has 3 minutes to catch a breather before they need to go back out there and get a key stop, which they did a bunch of times. It was really, really impressive. A ton of recruits here at the South End Zone in pregame, absolutely packed out for recruiting weekend. The kind of showing Brent Venables and Oklahoma needed here in the showpiece of Week 2. That puts the Sooners at 2-0 as they head on to Philly next weekend. We're not going to get that far ahead of ourselves because John, Hoover, Carson Field, now we're going to head up to the press box right now. We're going to write a bunch about this game, and we're going to record the post-game pod where we dive deep, big time, into this massive, massive win for Brent Venables. 24-13. Oklahoma comes out victorious. And with some of the stuff happening around college football today, and with the fact that I think people were in hurry up and wait mode, that'll propel Oklahoma to the top 12, top 10, and assuming they take care of business against Auburn, that's the way there will be going into the Cotton Bowl. That'll do it here for our wrap on the field, though. Big shout out to Carson and Hoover for all the work that they've been doing. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. That's the website, and you want to go there right now. We'll have a ton of great post-game content. Talk about Owen Heineke, talk about John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, all that fun stuff. And as we said, here in a little bit, we'll be up in that press box recording the post-game pod, but we'll dive deep into everything that happened between the Sooners and the Wolverines. For Carson, for Hoover, I'm Ryan Chapman. Oklahoma Sooners on SI, the place to be. We'll talk to you guys next time.